Welcome to my 2024 first video, and I wanted to talk about today was three things so far. Three things that would help a beginner riding, because I still am a beginner. I've been on a bike before, but between last year and this year, it's been really inconsistent. It was at the end of the year, and I don't really ride in traffic. So I think the first thing, number one thing, is to get seat time. Now, seat time does not mean ride on the interstate on straight roads. It doesn't mean stay on the same road that you really don't brake or make turns or anything. You need to be able to get in whatever environment you need, and you need to get seat time in as much of it as you can. Now, obviously, with weather, don't ride when the weather's too bad. Today was a weird day because I honestly should not have been riding as quickly, because it's been a really windy day, but I was moving with traffic and keeping the space I really needed to get comfortable, because as the day went, I started riding closer and closer to cars as I was watching the cars ahead, if that makes sense. Just for the sake of, I was getting more comfortable with braking and everything else, and setting myself up with better opportunity to just kind of get started easily without being in too much of a rush. You don't want to be in a rush when you ride, but seat time is number one as a whole, to get you more comfortable around just riding your bike. The next thing would be make your presence known on the road. And what I mean is, obviously, don't ride in blind spots. Do not do that, because obviously people come over, they're not paying attention, they're on their phones, whatever. I don't know what their reasoning would be, but make sure they see you when you're on the road. Obviously, if you have a dark bike, it may not be noticeable from a distance. Same way as if you're riding too closely behind somebody else. Don't do that either, especially when you want to be seen. I will typically ride right on the line, whichever side. I'm staying on the left side right now is because there was oncoming traffic. There's merging lanes in. That's why I'm typically stay on the left side. Unless there's merging traffic over, then I'll move over just for the sake of, just in case I have to do anything. But making my presence known is, the person in front of me will typically see me. I can see them in their rear view mirror on their left driver's side, and then the car's coming my direction, and I stay there on that side. And the biggest thing is, when I'm trying to practice certain things, braking, throttle control, downshifting, all these sorts of things that you can have moving along the road, because there's a lot of different variables, including, for me, which was the worst part, was the wind kept blowing me back and forth. With me, where I'm driving right now, and I stay really vigilant and staying close to this line, because I want to see as many cars as I can in front of the car in front of me. As long as you can see as far as you can go, you can plan how you need to proceed further forward. Meaning, if I see a car up here that's braking, I'm just going to start letting off the gas some, just to keep that space, so I don't need to necessarily downshift as a whole. Now, what the problem with that is, you'll have people behind you that don't see what you're seeing in cars. They don't see what you're seeing. And what I mean presence is, don't let somebody, if they start trying to tailgate you and you're not, driving way under the speed limit sort of thing, don't let them push you off the side of the road, as in force you get off. They have to wait. They don't own the road. They do not own the road. Obviously, if there's a backup, you kind of just want to get out of the way or speed up. It is your choice, whichever one you feel safer. I just speed up now because I'm not pulling over, because I don't want a flat tire as a whole. They're not going to make me get off the road because they want to be in a rush. They can tailgate each other, and of course, ironically, you can stop your bike much faster than they can stop their car. But I'm not going to tailgate, and neither should you. That's what I mean by presence, is you are a driver. It doesn't matter what you're on, 300, 400, 600, whatever it might be. You belong on the road just as much as they do. They don't let you actually command you over the road. Ride your ride, and if they get upset, well, they'll have to wait. As long as you're not driving way too under the speed limit as a whole, because it happens sometimes. Same way as if you come to a stop and you don't quote unquote accelerate fast enough, even though you're accelerating just fine. Don't let them rush you, because that's when you start making mistakes, and the risk is much worse for you than it is for them, especially on bikes that don't accelerate as fast. As long as you see your miles per hour climbing, just go with it. Don't let anybody rush you into that at all. You kind of have to just go with it, because you have so many different things you have to consider for you, because it is a big risk. And I think the last thing, because I can go into a lot of different things, but the last thing I want to talk about in this video is confidence. And I learned this when I took the MSF course, because that's when I learned to ride a motorcycle. Just period. I knew how they functioned, but to ride and balance, and I learned at the MSF course. I had a bike before then, but I had it trailered home. I didn't ride it home before the course. And the thing about it is, if you go into the course thinking you're going to fail, you shouldn't go. Because I know the people looked at me weird, because they had so much more experience than I did. But I was going there to learn, because the more I learn, the more I engage, it means the more probability I have for success. For me to make better decisions, to be more confident just riding, to know that I'm doing the right things at the right times. And that's one big thing that I think is a huge takeaway, because you see all these people on TikTok and stuff, not just only not wearing proper gear, your business, but you see them just speeding around in straight lines. Regular driving is not just straight lines. You can see I'm driving different speeds. I swerve around different potholes, things in the road. These basic stuff that you kind of take for granted in cars. So as you grow your confidence as a rider, you start believing that you can do these things. Now, if you need to practice certain aspects of riding, from braking, everything, focus on that. Don't sit there and start looking down. As a whole, you can stall, whatever, you can misshift. It's okay. As long as you're getting more consistent doing the good things, it'll eventually work out, as long as you get that seat time in. And that's one of the hardest things for people to understand when you see videos on the internet, is everybody starts somewhere, and this is your ride. This is your experience. You can't experience what that person's doing at 150 miles an hour on the highway. Is that something that you actually need? Maybe not. Maybe you do. It doesn't really matter. If you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. But as a rider who wants to ride well, who wants to come home in the same way I left, I try to emphasize having confidence to know that you can ride well, but also have the discipline to want to ride like you want to go home, if that makes sense. And it doesn't mean speeding. It could mean that you're making better decisions on seeing if you're rushing into traffic, you slow down sooner. You start braking. One big thing I started practicing today was before I even started braking, I let off the throttle and then I just tapped the back brake. Obviously, you don't use the back brake as your main brake. I just tapped it and let off, tapped it and let off, because the person behind me could have been actually not paying attention. As long as that light's flashing, if I touch the front brake, don't do that. If you start trying to tap the front brakes grab much quicker. Of course, it's 80-20 for between your brakes, but small things you can practice as a practical daily rider. If you want to ride every day, and that's always a nice thing. Of course, there's a lot to daily riding in your car. There's a lot of traffic, stop and go. There's a lot of variables in that. But if you grow this confidence in yourself and seat time to make good decisions, then there's really nothing you can do besides win. And that's kind of what you want to do as a rider.